What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and I'm here to take you through the most comprehensive NBA player prop preview on this upcoming 2-game slate. If it's your first time checking out the channel, I'll let you know I do this every single day. I share my screen, we go through outlier, we talk about form lines, matchups, what I like, what I don't, and I do all this to give you all the information that you need to make the best bets possible. Now, did we have a good day yesterday? It was all right. We went 3-3. In that first game, we had Tatum over boards, but who didn't have Tatum over boards? And he took Derek White in the first quarter, sucked. Peyton Pritchard over points and assists. He cashed that with ease, so that was a good look. We also had Donovan Mitchell over 7.5 points in the first quarter, and everything was going to Karis LeVert and Evan Mobley, unfortunately. So D. Mitch got cooking late in the game, but we needed him at the start, so another loss. But we ended the day with 2 winners. Kyrie Irving under 5.5 points in the first quarter. That was easy. And Daniel Gafford over 18.5 points and rebounds. That cash, that did get a little bit sweaty though. Once he went out with his injury, I thought we'll due another loss, but big man came back and delivered for us. Now, a couple of things that I learned on that last slate, and which I've been thinking about this whole time. And what really made it clear to me is when I put all my leans in. My leans is what I find when we do the research of the players that I think are going to go okay or that have good form coming into that matchup. And I think those leans only hit at about 20 to 30%. So one thing I'm going to stop looking at here is just the trend of how many times they've hit it over X amount of games, because that shit ain't working. So we'll see. When we jump into the preview, you'll see my train of thought. I'll give you all my insights, and let's see where we end up. Also, before we start the preview, if you're interested in looking at my picks, you can jump into the video description below. You'll see my winnable link. It's completely free to join. It's an easy way to get picks out to you. Not only will you get NBA picks, but anything else I do happen to bet on, MLB, even Australian sports, coming up this weekend, you will receive all of those in there as well. So jump down below, click on that link, and let's make it happen. Now let's jump into the preview, shall we? Let's go. So we're kicking it off with the Knicks versus Pacers. The Knicks are up 2-0 in this series, winning the 2 games at home. What I want to do first is quickly check the box score from the most recent game and see if we have any call-outs to make. So kicking off with these Indiana Pacers, what do we see? Naismith did nothing. Pascal Siakam, 14 points. He did struggle again on 18 attempts. 9 rebounds, though. Went over his rebound line and under his assist line. Miles Turner only had 6 points and 7 rebounds after 2 strong games. We saw Nembhard score 15 points, only 9 shots, a very high percentage from him. Tyrese Halliburton went nuts. 34 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds. Man was covering. TJ McConnell off the bench, 10 points, 12 assists, and 4 rebounds. 22 minutes. Obi Toppin, once again, 20 points, 3 boards, though. So smashed his points line. And Ben Shepherd, 11 points off the bench in 19 minutes, covering his PRA and his points line. And that's my main call out there. So just looking at these Pacers, I want you guys to think about, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen in this next game based off the last? I think my casual take is, well, it's not even a casual take anymore. It's been proven. Just because they've done it before doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Teams are going to make adjustments. I want to make that clear. And it's not just clear for you, it's clear for me. Because I fall in love with the data sometimes. And we need to know that in these playoff series, people are going to make adjustments. So what adjustments shall be made? 1, I think Pascal Siakam points could be a good option here, depending on what the line's at. He did only score 14 points in that last game, but he shot terribly. 7 from 18, 38%. We're not going to see OG in this matchup. Whenever Pascal had Josh Hart on him, he attacked him relentlessly. So that could be a good look. Pascal Siakam to score. Miles Turner, he could get some buckets. He had 2 strong games initially, but I think he did this in the Bucks series. He started the series off really strong and then started to go down. So that might be one to look at. Nembhard, I know he scored 15 points, but I wouldn't feel any confident in that. Scoring-wise, Tyrese Halliburton could be an interesting one. 19 shot attempts, 11 threes. He was on fire. 34 points. We'll see where his line's at and try to predict what the hell this man's going to do. And TJ McConnell, I think points plus assists could be a wave here because he's been super aggressive when he gets on. His matchup against Brunson, he seems to dominate him every single time. He's making him work. So depending on what TJ McConnell's points plus assist line looks like, 14.5 maybe, could be something we look at. And then Obi Toppin points. I've been saying this guy's bait for so long and he keeps delivering. I might have to just take the plunge on his points line depending on where it's at today. Ben Shepherd, his PRA will probably be at 7.5 or 8.5 again. I don't know if I'm willing to take it for the third or fourth time in a row, but we'll see. Jumping into these Knicks, though, what did we see? OG had 28 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Injured his hamstring, though. So I think it's a game time decision, but I don't think he's going to play. We saw Josh Hart score 19 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists. He was an absolute beast. 48 minutes once again. So again, his rebounds will probably be another good look. We'll see where his line's at. It's probably at 12.5 or 13.5 now. Isaiah Hartenstein, 14, 12, and 8 assists. The 8 assists were crazy, so that could be a good look. Dante DiVincenzo had 28 points, so he scorched them. Second consecutive game getting buckets. And Jalen Brunson went under his assist line again. Went under his points line, but he was injured, so interested to see where his status is at. And off the bench, we saw McBride get 20 minutes, but he didn't do too much. We saw Precious Achiuwa get 28 minutes, and he'll probably get a lot more given we have no OG. So Precious Achiuwa had 8 points and 5 rebounds. I think his points and rebounds were like 11.5 in the last game. So we'll see. The lines on him might be a little bit sharp, but he's due to get a little bit more runtime. So yeah, that's what. Now, when it comes down to what do I think happens from here, I think Hart can probably have another good game. Hartenstein, I think his stats are very interesting. That points one was a little bit sweaty. I don't know if I'll be willing to take that on the road, but let's see. Dante DiVincenzo could be a good look, but I question how long he can continue to do this. Jalen Brunson, obviously, with the injury, be interesting to see where his points line is at. So let's jump into it, shall we? Let's get into Outlier and start mucking around on there. All right. So let's take a look, shall we? Let's get started with this road team first. We'll start with Jalen Brunson. Now, his rebounds plus assists has been hitting quite well recently. So let's start there. And I know I'm not going to bet things because they've been hitting recently, but let's just have a look. 8 of his last 10 games, he's gone over 11.5 rebounds plus assists. What I'm most interested in is his head-to-head data. Now, he's only gone over his rebounds plus assists in 1 of 7 games against the Indiana Pacers. So it's been split so far. So I'd be hesitant in taking any over around that. So an under could be on the cards for his rebounds or assists. Most likely his assists, depending on what the line is on. But I also have a feeling that this could be a game that he gets, if I just remove the data out of it, I think Jalen Brunson could rack up some assists here. So his points line is at 35.5. So he's covered this in 3 out of the 4 games against Indiana. 3 out of his last 4 games, sorry. 43 in the first game, 29 in that most recent game. He probably lost about 10 minutes of game time due to that injury, but still, 18 shot attempts, 61% from the field, 3 from 6 from deep, and 4 from 6 from the line. So at 35.5, if he wasn't injured, I'd probably lean to the over. Has that injury, so now I'm a little bit hesitant, and he might still play the way he normally does, but I've got no look here on the points because I don't know how bad the injury is for Jalen Brunson. Just checking the injury list. So OG is out. Jalen Brunson is a game time decision. But I doubt, well, I don't know. They could probably afford to rest him for this game, really. They're up to 2-0. We'll see. Looking at his assist prop, though. Line is still at 6.5. Okay. Under is what I'd be looking at. So he's gone under in 7 straight games against Indiana. That last game, he only had 7 potential assists, but obviously played 10 less minutes. Looking at his last 10 games, yeah, did rack up the assists against Philly, but against the Pacers, it hasn't been there. 6 and 5. He had 15 potential assists in that first game. I don't think he's going to get that many. He's averaging 13.9 potential assists in his last 10, and he probably had more favorable matchups to get assists against other teams. So, yeah, damn, I just have the data again. So this is the one where the data says take the under. It makes so much sense. Take the under in Jalen Brunson's assists. The potential assists aren't there. Hasn't got it done against Indiana before. But there's something inside of me that tells me that he probably goes over. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not betting it. No. I'm going to fade myself before you fade me. And then if you fade me, then you're actually betting me in the original thought process that I had. Capiche? Rebounds for Jalen Brunson. 4.5's the line. 4 out of his last 10 games he's cashed in against the Pacers. 2 out of his last 7. So 6 boards in the first game, 2 boards in the most recent game. Only had 5 rebound chances. Data a little bit skewed because of his injury. So on Jalen Brunson, no plays from me on Jalen Brunson. But let's check out Dante DiVincenzo. Now, if you want to look at some recent form, his points under 5.5 in the first quarter has been banging. He's gone under in 7 out of his last 10 games. He went under in both games against Indiana. But prior to that, he had gone over in 3 straight games. So given Jalen Brunson's limited possible limitations, I wouldn't take the under here for Dante. But looking at the points, 20.5 is his line. He scored 25 in game 1, 28 in game 2. So 3 out of his last 5 games against the Indiana Pacers this season. If we look at his last 10 games, he's only hit in 4 of those games, but his minutes and opportunities have been sky high. So a lot of his performance is really linked to his minutes. He's played 40 plus minutes in 3 straight games, and he's covered this line with ease. Did score 23 on the road against Philly. So it really just comes down to minutes with Dante. His minutes graph down here almost replicates his points total. So Dante getting 20 minutes. What about the shots? He 20 shots in that last game, shot 50% from the field. We got 20, 17, and 18. So I think let's just muck around with the season data for a second, and let's put his minutes up to at least 40. He should play at least 40. Now, when Dante DiVincenzo plays at least 40 minutes, he's covered this line in 11 of 15 games. Banging. Now, if we check these games, just his road games, he's played 5 road games where he's played at least 40 minutes, and he's covered this line in 3 out of 5. So the games he went under, Spurs and Boston, 1 road game against Philly in the playoffs. So Dante DiVincenzo over 20.5 could be something I get around because there's no OG in this game either. I wonder if we add or remove OG from this. There we go. So Dante DiVincenzo has played 9 games where he's played more than 40 minutes without OG Anunoby in the lineup, and he's covered this line at a 78% hit rate. So now when I think about the only reason this bet loses is because Dante doesn't get minutes. Now Tibbs, he's only going to play a 7-man rotation. He's already lost OG, so Precious Achiuwa is going to get a lot more time. Miles McBride is another guard on the bench, but I still think Dante will get a lot of minutes. We don't know how Jalen Brunson's going to look. Josh Hart can play big, so they can run a pretty small lineup because the Pacers don't necessarily play big either. So you can probably afford to have some of these 3 smaller players on the court at the same time. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take Dante DiVincenzo, put his points line as a lean. I don't mind that. All right. Looking at his assists now, the line's at 2.5, minus 148 though. He's cashed in 3 out of his last 5 games, 1 and 2 this series. He had 7 potential assists in that last game against Indiana. Looking at his last 10, it's not too convincing. 5 out of his last 10 potential assists are definitely not there. So unless Brunson is gone, let's just have a look. Games without Jalen Brunson. Does he even have many games? Jalen Brunson doesn't miss time. Last 10 games without Brunson, he's covered his assist line 6 times, but even then his potential assists aren't super high. All right, let's check out the rebounds line. 4.5 for Dante. Had 6 rebounds in that last game, but prior to that, 7 straight games going under in head-to-head matchups, 2 out of his last 5. So we're not fucking around with that. Actually, whilst we're on here, let's look at his 3-pointers. 4.5 is the line for Dante. Plus 140. He has covered this in 3 straight. It does kind of resemble his points line. So if we just look at games where he plays at least 40 minutes, Dante DiVincenzo has covered this in 10 of 15 games where he plays at least 40 minutes. And then if we remove OG, I think there was, 9 games? It's the wrong one. Remove OG. Yeah, 6 out of 9 games, Dante DiVincenzo has covered this 3-point line. So, yeah, I think the hit rate is very similar, but knowing how the Indiana Pacers play, they're pretty good at running teams off the line. Dante does have some range, but if you only pick the 3-point play, you're limiting your opportunities, whereas Dante could take to the rack a couple of times and score that way. So I think the points is a better look, but the 3-pointers probably isn't too bad either. Let's get into Josh Hart. What's Josh Hart got? I want to put the head-to-head filter on. All right. First quarter rebounds for Josh Hart. Under 3.5 has cash in both games. Despite his amazing rebound numbers, the under has cash in the first half. 6 out of his last 7 games against Indiana. In his last 10 games, it's cash in 6 out of the 10. So he does play every minute of every game. So that will be a sweaty play. I'm not down for that. Now, this points line, this has been pissing me off, this points line. So he's cashed this 2 out of 7 cases. Both games have been in the playoffs, 24 and 19 points. Obviously playing a lot of minutes. He actually doesn't shoot the ball too much. 13 and 12 attempts so far in this series, but scoring a lot of points, getting to the line a fair bit. So I'd probably lean to the over here for Josh Hart because looking at this playoffs, this is when the playoff series starts. Since the playoffs started, he's played 8 games. He's covered the 8 games in the playoffs already. Josh Hart can attack the rim, which is where the Pacers are the weakest. So yeah, this is still a pretty good look too. I don't. It makes a lot of sense. So whereas in like the Philly series, I wasn't game enough to bet him because he was just banging a lot of threes. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. But against his Pacers team, who encourage teams to drive, Josh Hart could definitely make that happen. The shot volume is not high, but you can see the percentage is high. And that's because of where he's taking shots. Look at his three-point attempts, 1 and 3 attempts in the last 2 games. So not necessarily shooting too many threes. He's attacking the rack. Doesn't get fouled too much, but he's making a lot of layups. So Josh Hart points, I can fuck around with that. His assist line is at 5.5. He's cashed this in 4 of his last 10. Both games against the Pacers, 8 and 7 assists. Potential assists, he's had 11 potential assists in both games. So very interesting. So he's getting 8.7 potential assists on average in his last 10, averaging 4.7. So if we go down to 9, he's probably getting about a 15%. He's got 15% is his potential assists in this series are 15% higher than his average over his last 10. And if we add the same 15% to this, it takes us to about 5.5. So the line is pretty much bang on for someone getting 11 potential assists with his numbers, but his assist to potential assist ratio is pretty good so far in this series. Hood mathematics. Now Josh Hart on the road, though, that's what I'm thinking about. On the road, he's been cashing like a motherfucker. 7 out of his last 10, averaging 6.5 assists in his last 10 games on the road. Even with his potential assists at 8.2, the actual assist numbers are quite high. So Josh Hart assist might be something we can muck around with. I'll dive into that one a little bit deeper. Oh, maybe it's just a Josh Hart PRA that we look at. We'll see, because his rebound line is it's still at 12.5. Minus 120, though. Yeah, he's cashed this in both games, 13 and 15. 6 out of his last 10. No OG, so there's potentially more rebounds there for Josh Hart now. 20 and 22 rebound chances in both games. So that's pretty decent, averaging 20 rebound chances in his last 10, and in his last 10, he's averaging 11.9. So, yeah, I think the rebound chance is going to be very important here. He needs to get 20 rebound chances in order to cover this. Pacers are at home. Knicks on the road. So, look, both games are pretty tight already. So I'm just checking the lines to see what's happening. Pacers are pretty heavy favorites in this. So the line is 7.5. Does that really indicate that Jalen Brunson may not play? Like Halliburton's a game time decision too. I need to look into Jalen Brunson real quick. That could change the script in my mind. What's the news on Jalen Brunson? And there isn't any. Can't find nothing. Yeah. Now I'm going to have to get on Twitter, where everyone seems to be so angry all the goddamn time. All right, no news on Jalen Brunson. I just saw heaps of memes about him being a GOAT. Josh Hart. Rebounds 12.5. The line's at 7.5, and Jalen Brunson might be playing in this one. His props are available, that's for sure. Actually, that's a lie. What am I talking about? Jalen Brunson's lines aren't available. So, yeah, he's just got a questionable tag, but one of the sports books I use doesn't have Jalen Brunson available, so that could switch things up on the script right here. What's Josh Hart do when Jalen Brunson is not in the lineup? Plan for all scenarios here. So it doesn't get many rebounds, that's for sure. Rebound chances seem down. Let's fuck around with the assists real quick. And these are his assists. 3 of his last 10 he's covered without Brunson. Yeah, this season data is not too important to me, though. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for Jalen Brunson because he could switch things up a little bit if the Pacers can run away with it. It does look good for our DiVincenzo play potentially, but these Josh Hart rebounds have been hitting well. Maybe a Josh Hart PRA. Let's have a look at that. 35.5. He's cashed in 3 straight games, 5 out of his last 10 against the Pacers. He's only cashed in the last 2. Prior to that, he did nothing. So these last 2 games, Josh Hart's been excellent, covering his points, rebounds, and assist line in every single game. The question is, can he do it without Jalen? Or is Jalen going to play? So he has had a triple-double without Jalen Brunson before, though, which is pretty cool. So in these games, yeah, the last 3 games without Jalen Brunson, the Knicks got blown out. 14 points to Dallas, 23 points to the Pelicans, 16 points to Atlanta. In those games, Josh Hart did score, did get some assists as well. So in the last 3 games without Brunson, he's cashed his points plus assist line in every game, but his rebound numbers have been low. So that's quite interesting. So you might want to look at points plus assists for Josh Hart with no Jalen Brunson. You can also look at Josh Hart points plus assists even with Jalen Brunson, to be honest. Okay. I'll have to dive into that a little bit later. The problem with recording so early, I don't have any news. So I'm recording this maybe 6 to 7 hours before I would normally do it. And that's because your boy's not working. So let's have a look at Isaiah Hartenstein. So his assist prop is one of interest. He went crazy in that last game. And a lot of them are when Jalen Brunson was out. Points, his line is at 12.5. It was at 11.5 in the last game. He has covered this in both games so far in this series. No Mitchell Robinson, so the minutes are going to be there. Field goal attempts are the concern. 9 and 7 field goal attempts for Isaiah Hartenstein. I wonder what his numbers look like without Jalen Brunson. So this season, he's played 4 games without Brunson. He's gone under in all 4. His minutes were a lot lower, though. So given the low volume of minutes, the points actually don't look too bad. He's averaging 5.8 shot attempts per game without Brunson, but he was only getting 26 minutes. He should see 36 to 38 minutes in this game of my bullshit ass mathematic calculations, which is almost 50% higher. So that means he will take maybe 2 extra shots in this game, taking his shot attempts to about 8. So yeah, my bullshit mathematics tell me that the line is just about right. So I'm not interested in playing any Hartenstein points. Let's look at his assists. So he did have 8 assists in that last game, 4 assists in the first game, but to get over 3.5, you're looking at minus 150. He had 13 potential assists in that last one. Looking back on his last 10, that 13 potential assists is somewhat of an outlier. If we want to see the numbers without Jalen Brunson, 4 out of his last 10 games without Brunson, he's gone over this line. But this season in 4 games without Brunson hasn't really racked up the assists. So that makes me a little bit hesitant. His rebound line has moved up to 10.5. It was at 9.5 in the last game. He finished with 12 rebounds. He had 21 rebound chances, which is pretty wild. But if we look back on the historical trends, probably not the best. And in head-to-head matchups, he's had 2 strong rebounding games against the Pacers and 6 games where he has gone under. So the minutes have been up over the last 4, though. Maybe the last 3 to 4 games is where you can get an accurate representation of where he sits. Pacers expected to run away with this one, which might reduce his rebound opportunities. Like in that first half when the Pacers were rolling, he didn't have many rebounds. He got a lot of these rebounds in the second half as the Knicks clawed it back. But I probably lean to the under there for Isaiah Hartenstein. I know I'm not going to bet it, so I'm not going to take note of that. But, fuck it, actually. I'm going to take note of it anyway, just so I can keep a track of it. All right. I'm not betting on that, but I'm just noting it down so I can see how it performs, see if my mind's in the right place. But then other than that, limited markets are the only Knicks. Well, shit, how many Knicks markets do you need? Probably just Precious Achua is the main one I'd be looking for. Let's get into these Indiana Pacers and start with Tyrese Halliburton. So, under 4.5 rebounds has hit quite well against the Knicks. 5 of his last 7 games, he's gone under this line. He did have 6 rebounds in that last game, 10 rebound chances. He only played 35 minutes, which is pretty wild. Looking at his last 10, he's covered in 5 of his last 10. For this, I'd probably lean to the under. I wouldn't expect him to get another 6 boards in this game. But, yeah, who bets on Tyrese Halliburton rebounds anyway? So his points line is an interesting one, 19.5. You're getting that for plus money. He's cashed in 3 of 7 games against the Knicks. 34 in that last one was nuts. Shot the ball 19 times, 11 buckets, 7 from 11 from deep. So my man was unconscious in that game. Looking at his last 5 games, 2 out of his last 5. So, somewhat inconsistent. But what I wanted to see is he started the Milwaukee series off with very similar to the first game at the Knicks, 6 attempts. And then as the series went on, his volume started to increase. So the 19 shots in that last game was a lot higher than I would have thought it to be, but positive signs nonetheless for Tyrese Halliburton. Here's a game time decision, but I would assume he gets at least 15 to 20 shot attempts in this game, and he only needs to score 20 points. So for this, I'd probably lean to the over, and it's not because of him scoring so well in that last game. It's purely just the volume that we want to see here from Tyrese Halliburton. Just looking back on the Knicks series, games against the Knicks, a lot of them he has gone under, though, even with these more shots. So not only would I expect the shot attempts to down a little bit, you can assume that his 3-point attempts and his percentage is down. or maybe not his attempts, but the percentage, 64% from deep. That's really unlikely that occurs again. So I'm taking Tyrese Halliburton off the board. I don't like the points line anymore. Unless he comes out and shoots 50, 60% from downtown, then we're in trouble. But his assist line's at 9.5. He's cashed this in 3 of his last 7. Both games against the Knicks so far in this series, he's gone under 8 and 9 assists. He had 20 potential assists in that last game, but still only finished with 9. So who the hell is this guy passing to? So the potential assists are definitely there. It's just really making buckets. So at 9.5, though, I don't love it. Plus money, but it's something to do with this Knicks defense, perhaps. But even throughout the playoffs, he's only covered this line 3 times in the playoffs. So, yeah, nothing on Hallie for me. I'm not fading him. I'm not saying to take an under. I'm just not loving anything on there to bet the over. Now, one thing I did mention earlier, that maybe this guy here, Pascal Siakam. Now, if you're looking at all these trends, all the trends say to bet the under, right? Doesn't matter what prop it is, it says bet the under. So points and assists, he's gone under in 4 straight games against the Knicks. He only had 14 points and 2 assists in that last game. His minutes, though, his minutes in the playoffs haven't gone up based on from the regular season. Still doing the same shit. But I just think, I have a feeling, his line's at 20.5. Okay. Because his line in the last game was like 19.5, I think. 18.5 or 19.5, but it's gone up to 20.5. And it's probably because OG's out. But Pascal Siakam, he's gone under his points line in 4 straight games against the Knicks. In those games, averaging 16.5 field goal attempts. I was interested in betting his over because that last game he shot 39% from the field, where normally he's at about 50. Had he shot 50% from the field, that's 2 more buckets. That would take him to 18. He didn't make a 3-pointer either. And he got to the line, but he missed both of his free throws. So his shooting percentages are just so bad. But I want to take the over for Pascal, but at 20.5, these lines are sharp as hell. What I'm going to say. Throughout the regular season, I could find bangers all over the place. But every time I put more hood on these players, I come to the conclusion that the line's pretty sharp. So, yeah, now at 20.5, I'd probably lean to the under. There is no OG, but yeah, now I'm not too keen on betting that. Assists, 3.5 to the line. He's covered in 2 or 4 against New York. Only had 2 in the last game, but only had 2 potential assists, so that's no good. Pascal definitely playing off the ball. Rebounds, 7.5 is at -140. So he had 16 rebound chances in that last game, which is a pretty good bounce back from what we had been seeing. He only had 9 rebound chances in the first game, and I had assumed that the bounce back would happen, and it did, but 7.5, I'd probably lean to the over for sure, but at -140, I'm not interested in taking that as a straight bet. But for those of you doing all your fantasy type stuff, Pascal Siakam over 7.5 rebounds, because you got to add them to the parlays. I think that's not a bad play. Siakam boards. Let's see who else we got in this game. We got Miles Turner. So he had a slow game. I've got a feeling that he bounces back in this one. That's my casual take on it anyway. 16.5 is his line. So he started the series off 23 points in the first game of the series, and then down to 6 in that most recent game. Minutes, somewhat similar. Field goal attempts. Yeah, his field goal attempts were down, but that would be driven by his percentage. He shot the ball poorly, so that kind of prevented him from shooting anymore. He didn't make a 3-pointer, which is pretty wild. He made 2 in the first game. Looking at his last 10, so in that Milwaukee Bucks series, his first 4 games were excellent, and then his last 2 were trash. So looking at his minutes are a little bit all over the place. Field goal attempts, I just think he has to have a bounce back. I'm sure he will. He'll score more than 6 points, but that's not the bet that we're taking here. The line's at 16.5. So can he score 10 points more than he did in the last game, which is make 4 extra bucks, making a 3-pointer? Yeah, potentially. If we look at his home games, this was a home game. He scored 5, so that's no good. But this first home game against the Bucks, actually, that's not the first home game. What am I talking about? This one. First home game against the Bucks, 29. Second home game, 29. Then that third home game where the Pacers blew them out, he only scored 5. So I think Pacers are favorites. Turner should play good. So I'd probably lean to the over. It's just something's not sitting right. I have to investigate that a bit further. But yeah, the points could be a good play. I know that's not helpful. But looking at his rebounds, 7.5 is the line. He's covered this in only 4 of his last 10. He's gone under in 4 straight, though. He had 2 rebounds in game 1, 7 rebounds in game 2. He still only had 9 rebound chances. That's 2 consecutive games where Miles Turner has only had 2 rebound chances. So really just surprised to see him even get to 7 with that volume of chances. The under -106 is where I would be leaning, because the Pacers run everybody off the line, force them to attack the rack, which is where Miles Turner is to meet them. And yeah, if he's contesting all those shots, he's not going to be able to get rebounds. Pretty much that's how that works. So rebound chances are quite low. In previous games against them, he's had 17, 17, and 16 rebound chances. So yeah, I'd lean to the under there for Miles Turner, but I don't want to bet it. That's a stressful bet, but that's a lean for sure. So I'm going to capture all my leans, and I'll share all these with you, but I really just want to track them to see how they perform, see if my head's in the right place. All right, that's Miles Turner. Who else have we got in this joint? Andrew Nemhard. So there's no McConnell plays out. I wanted to see his points plus assists. All right, we're looking at Andrew Nemhard, his assist prop. He's cashed this in 9 straight games. He's cashed him in both games against the Knicks. Over 3.5 is -125. The hit rate, pretty good there. Oh, sorry, this is 8 straight games against the Knicks. Looking at his last 10, he's cashed this in 6 straight games. So the assists have been popping for Nemhard. He only had 4 potential assists in that last game and finished on 4. I don't know if that's right or not, but damn, that's lucky. So the hit rate on his assist prop is excellent. I don't know if I'm willing to bet that, though, is all I'm saying. His points prop's at 10.5. He's cashed this quite well. 6 of his last 9 games against the Knicks. Scored 11 in game 1, 15 in game 2. Minutes aren't super high. So for the Pacers, right, a lot of their bench guys are covering their lines, which means they're going to get a lot of runtime. So the starters like Nemhard, their minutes could be impacted. But he's managed to get this done with a limited amount of minutes. Shot percentage extremely high. That makes me a little bit cautious. 78% in that last game. 1 from 3 from downtown. So even though the hit rate is good on this, I'm not willing to take it purely because of the volume aspect of this bet. He's not taking enough shots. 10 shots and 9 shots in order to get 11 points for a guard. I'd be a little bit hesitant on that. If that was a big, yeah, we're talking business here. But let's have a look at his rebound prop. 2.5 plus money. He's gone under in both games. So that's yuck. Ugh. So nothing on Nemhard for me. I've just refreshed Outlier to see if they have any updated props. Hey, we got the bench players on there now. All right, TJ McConnell. So I think his line is at 16.5 for his points plus assists. Let's just go through each one first. Points. His line's at 10.5. He had 10 in the last game, 18 in the first. Definitely getting some minutes, 22 minutes in both games. 16 shots in game 1, 9 shots in game 2. He's averaging 10.5 shots over his last 10 games. So the 9 shots, what he did in that last game is probably the more accurate one. But if he's not shooting, he's passing the ball. So let's get to these assists. 5.5 assists for TJ McConnell. First game, he had 3 assists. Second game, he had 12 assists. 14 potential assists. Sky high, got off to a really good start. Home game, so you'd think the Pacers role players play a lot better. So points and assists is where I'm thinking. So he's cashed this with ease in both games, 21 and 22 in the first 2 games. He should get the same number of minutes. When he's out there, he's an aggressive full step. Aggressive getting some assists, as we saw in the last game, a lot of potential assists, and aggressive taking his shot like we saw in the first game. So, yeah, TJ McConnell points plus assists. I'm fucking with that. Rebound line's at 2.5. I don't want to touch that. His rebound chances are quite low, but the points and assists for TJ McConnell, I can dance with. Now, where's Obi? We got to get on Obi, don't we? We have to. I keep not fading him, but I keep choosing not to bet him, and he kills it. Check this out. So this is points plus assists. You can get that for plus money at 12.5. He's covered that in 6 straight, all because on points alone. But if we look at his points line, it's at 10.5 minus 118. He's covered this in 5 straight games. Sorry, 6 straight games. Still playing just under 20 minutes a night. He took 10 shots in that last game. He made 7. He normally shoots at about 50%. So that 70% is a reach for sure. But even at 50%, he gets at least 10 points. But he makes a couple threes. You're looking at 11 plus the free throws. Then, yeah. Obi points. No. I just got to pump the brakes real quick on myself. I'm betting data again. So I wonder, is there a chance here that this fucker just stops? I don't think there is. I think there is a chance. Not to say that there's no chance. I think there is a chance that they limit him somewhat, but he managed to do all this damage going to New York. Now he's going back home. When in that last series against the Bucks, the minute they went back to Indiana, Obi Toppin started scoring, and he hasn't stopped since. You can see it on this graph. First 2 games of the playoffs against the Bucks, 4 and 9 points. Came home to Indiana, 15, 13, 12, 21, 12, and 20. The volume has been pretty good. The lowest shots he's taken in a game is 7. And in that game, he got to the line 4 times, which helped him cover this line anyway. So, yeah, the volume is there for Obi. I think I might take that one. I'm already close to it. Now, rebounds. Rebounds are at 4.5. He only had 3 boards in that last game, 5 rebound chances. Both games in this series, his rebound chances are low. So, low rebound chances at a line at 4.5. I'm not willing to play with that. But his points prop, that's something I can get around. And it might be a very popular play, because if it was that easy for me to spot, then everybody's going to be on it. Let's have a look at Ben Shepherd now. So these Pacers guys getting a run. They're getting a run off the bench. So I just want to look at firstly his points, then we'll look at his PRA. So his points line is at 5.5 still. He's cashed this in 7 of his last 10 games. He's played, I think, 8 games in the playoffs. He's cashed this in 6 of them. The 2 games he went under were against the Bucks. So he scored 8 points in game 1, 11 points in game 2. The minutes are okay. Field goal attempts, 5 and 6. He has shot 60 and 67%, which is a lot higher than I would expect him to be. But if we mark him down at 50% and you take 1 bucket away, he still covers in both games. So, yeah, the points look is a good one there for Ben Shepherd. The other one that I've been betting, because this is plus money, is the PRA. That's at 8.5 now. At 7.5, I was all over it. But at 8.5, now I'm a bit skeptical. So he's hit this in 7 of his last 10. Still covered in his last 2. Purely because he's scoring really well. That last game scored 11 points, but didn't get a rebound or an assist. So I think you've got to check what type of game is this going to be. I'm going to check the total points line real quick. Total points, 222.5. So it's still the same as the last game. PRA I bet last time. I think I might just take the points because the volume is okay. The percentage has been high in the last 2 games. If he drops back to 50%, as long as he's taken 6 shots, then we're good here. But he does shoot quite 75% of his shots are 3-pointers. So if he makes 2 threes, we're in. I wonder what his 3-point line's at. Yeah, this might be the better play. 2 3-pointers for plus 130 because he can't get his points line. If we'll have a look, all the times where he's covered this points line, he's hit 2 3-pointers, I believe. Oh, fuck. Not all of them, but most of them. Most of them he has. Doesn't shoot too many free throws. The odds for 3-pointers are just so much higher, and they're 75% of his shots. So Ben Shepherd, 5.5 is plus money. 2 3-pointers made is plus money, plus 130 for Ben Shepherd. 4 3-pointers a game, 50% so far in his last 10. On the season, he shoots 36%. Okay, on the season, he's not a great 3-point shooter. Just over his last 10 games, he's been shooting him a little bit better at 50%, especially in this series. Now he's going back at home. What happened in the home games? Home games against Milwaukee, 1 from 3 and 2 from 2. So actually, let's play it safe. I might just take the look at the points there. Even though the 3-pointer is better odds, I'm going to take a look at the points. All right. That's Ben Shepherd. Who else is there? Naismith. Ain't nobody want to fuck with that guy. McBride. We know he didn't do too much despite his minutes. Yeah, so there's no one else for the Knicks that's really getting me aroused. Now let's jump into the next one. Pumping the brakes once again on you all, just to remind you that if you want to do some coaching around sports betting, bankroll management, strategy, how to use betting tools, how to use Outlier, how to track your bets, all that type of stuff. If you want to book in some time with me, click on the Calendly link in the description below. I've got 1 more week off work at the end of after next week. I'm back full-time working, so I won't be able to have any coaching with you guys. So if you're interested, check out that link. Book your boy in. I've done quite a few coaching sessions already. I've gotten really positive feedback from them. The guys are loving it, and I don't want you guys to miss out. So jump in, book your boy in, and let's chop it up, shall we? Now let's get back to the preview. All right, let's break down the Minnesota Timberwolves versus Denver Nuggets. The very last game that they played. Let's see what pops up here. Looking at the T-Wolves, we saw Jaden McDaniels still refusing to score, playing defense full-time. 5 points, 3 assists, 2 boards. Kyle Anderson, pretty productive with 6 points, 8 assists, and 9 rebounds. We saw Kyle Anthony Town, big boy, in 27 points, 12 boards with no Rudy in the lineup. So his points line has been cashing real good. And Anthony Edwards, 27 points, 7 assists. I think I had that as a lean. I told y'all the assists will be coming up. Under in his points, over in assists cash. I didn't bet it because the numbers scared me. But my gut feel, my knowledge of the game said this is how it's going to happen. And it did. Let's see what we can come up with in this one. Mike Conley only had 4 points, 6 assists, and 3 boards. Only took 5 shots. Everyone else is getting buckets. Naz Reid had another strong game. 14 points and 5 rebounds off the bench. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 14 points and 6 boards. They had a lot of blocks in that game too. Minnesota defensively were just stifling these Denver Nuggets. So before we go to Nuggets, let's try to anticipate what's going to happen in the next one. So the Timberwolves obviously won. They're up 2-0 now. The Denver Nuggets need to make some sort of adjustments here. And they kind of adjusted to slow Anthony Edwards down. He didn't take 25 shots in that last game. He did have 7 assists. So they got the ball out of his hands a little bit more, you could say. But Karl Anthony Towns, I don't think they have an answer for. So I think his points could be a good look. Jaden McDaniels, depending on where his points are, we could fade that because they're letting him shoot. We've got Naz Reid off the bench. He's been good. I'm assuming his lines are going to be quite sharp, though. Rudy is most likely back for this one, too. These bench guys, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I don't know if I'm game enough to play that. Because once again, Rudy's back. That's going to impact Kyle Anderson as well. So no looks on him. I think we just got to think about Anthony Edwards. I think this is a game, depending on where his line is at, the points could be a good look. Road game for the Wolves. Typically, the role players start to slow down a little bit. Or we might look at a Mike Conley points line. We could see a bounce back from him because I think some of these guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I don't expect him to have a big game on the road. Jaden McDaniels as well. Kyle Anderson won't play. I think Cat will get buckets. Anthony Edwards can get buckets. We need one more guy. Could be Naz Reid or Mike Conley, but let's see. And looking at these Denver Nuggets, what did we see? Michael Porter Jr. was ass, 9 points, 5 boards. So there's definitely room for him to bounce back in this game. He was 1 from 7 from 3. Aaron Gordon had 20 points in that last game, so he was quite strong. He was their top scorer, believe it or not. Nikola Jokic only took 13 shots, 16 rebounds, 8 assists, finishing on 16 points. So he just won MVP. Surely he has to have a better game. KCP had 4 points, but he doesn't shoot the ball that much. Jamal Murray was awful, 3 for 18. 13 rebounds for Jamal Murray and only 2 assists, only finishing on 8 points. So he's definitely got some room to bounce back and improve in this one. So we'll see. And then their bench didn't do too much. Justin Holiday actually had 13 points, hit 4 3-pointers, but don't mean shit. You still lost by 20. So what do I think? What insights just looking at this? Michael Porter Jr., poor game from him, could have a bounce back at home. Aaron Gordon was excellent. I'd probably be looking at an under. He doesn't typically put games like that back to back. If you remember the Lakers series, he destroyed them in one game with a lot of rebounds and a lot of points. Following game, did nothing. Jokic, we all know how good he is, and he clearly underperformed that last one, so he might flex his muscles a little bit. And Jamal Murray, as talented as he is, he's been pretty ass this whole playoffs. He's got the biggest leap to make in terms of his improvement. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable betting on it, though. But, yeah, a lot of room for a bounce back, but we could look at Aaron Gordon unders. I think they could, depending on what the lines are. So let's take a look, shall we? All right. Let's start with these boys on the road. We'll start with Rudy Gobert first. Checking the injury report real quick. KCP's a game-time decision. Reggie Jackson, Jamal Murray. No one for the Wolves. I think they all play, though. So let's have a look at young Rudy. His points line is at 12.5. He has cashed this in 7 of 12 games against Denver. First game against Denver in this series, he only scored 6 points. Looking at his last 10, he had been scoring very well. Sample size is small in his plays against Denver this season, I think. Yeah, 4 games against Denver this season. On the road, he's played quite well, actually. 21 and 13 points at Denver. And then this most recent game. Actually, I got my shit fucked up. Minnesota's at home. Denver were at home. The first 2 games. Oh. All right. Let me just quickly reset everything in my mind. All right, we're good. Minnesota at home. His last game at home against the Nuggets, he only scored 4 points. In previous games in the playoffs, he has had some success. Yeah, Rudy's tough to get a read on whether he's going to score or not. Because if Cat's got it cooking and Ant's got it cooking, players like Rudy, Mike Conley, they don't really need to score because if your first options are getting it done, who needs these motherfuckers? But Let's have a look at his rebound prop. 12.5 rebounds for Rudy. He had 13 rebounds in game 1. He's covered this in 7 of 10 games in his last 10. In head-to-head matchups, he's covered in 5 of his last 12. Has covered in his last 2. At home, he's covered in 1 of his last 2. So Rudy rebounds. He had how many rebound chances? 21 rebound chances to get 13 rebounds. He's got to do that again. Now, looking when he's had 21 rebound chances in the past, he's been money. Every game where he's got 21 or more rebound chances, he's covered this rebound line. So, yeah, I don't know if I can take it, though. The data says yes, but my mind's telling me no. But my body's telling me yes. My body's also telling me no. My mind and body say no, but the data says to have a look, and I don't want to. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Rudy Gobert? I don't know. He's a dad now. Might have some dad strength in him, but we'll see. Who we got? Anthony Edwards. Let's get there. So my mind is telling me that this guy can bounce back and get some buckets. Didn't shoot the ball too much in the last one, but he didn't have to. Back at home, I don't know if he needs to shoot the ball in this one either. All right, lost my train of thought. Had to take a phone call. I don't know where I was at. But let's talk about Anthony Edwards. 27.5 points. He scored 27 in that last game, 43 in the first game. Only played 37 minutes, given the blowout. Only attempted 17 shots. He did shoot a very high percentage, so they still do not have an answer for Anthony Edwards. 1 from 4 from 3, 4 from 7 from the line. So there's room, even with the same volume, to make more free throws, shoot better from 3 as well, and to also take more shots. So I think Anthony Edwards can go over in this one. So I might look at the over 27.5 there for Ant-Man. Let's look at his assists. 5.5, 7 assists in the last game, 3 in the first game. Had 12 potential assists in that last game, moving that rock around nicely. Now I can't say whether Denver employs the same tactics to try to get the ball out of his hand or if he resorts to more playmaking. So his assists, I'm a little bit on the fence about. Rebounds, 5.5, 7 in game 1, 2 in game 2. Only 4 rebound chances. So yeah, if this game is closer, then he'll obviously get more rebound chances, you would assume. But yeah, I'm not loving that. They had a lot of other players grabbing the boards in that game. We saw Cat get 12 rebounds. Kyle Anderson had 9 rebounds. Naz Reid had 5. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 6. So Anthony Edwards not getting too many rebound chances. So I'm not willing to dance with that. I'm not saying he won't bounce back. He can definitely bounce back, that's for sure. But there's nothing in the data that's telling me that he can. And there's nothing inside my gut that tells me he can either. So let's have a look at Cat. Zesty ass, bestie. Look at him. I can't believe how good this guy's playing. So his points line is at 19.5. He's covered this in 3 straight games. Both games against the Denver Nuggets, 20 and 27 points. It's safe to say that he's past that injury. The concern is foul trouble, but he only had 4 fouls in that last game, if that means anything. Shot 62 and 67% so far from the field. He's killing it from downtown as well. Free throws, he made a lot of them. So I wouldn't say he gets 27, but he can definitely cover this 19.5. That's for sure. He still played 35.8 minutes in the last game. I guess Rudy wasn't there, so they needed a bigger body. I think having Jokic on the floor means Cat's going to get as much time as they can possibly give him. So I don't mind the over for points for Cat either. Is he due a slow spot? Potentially. Looking at the playoffs last year, it looks like he did okay. 2 out of the 4. But yeah, points for Cat, I don't mind that. Now, rebound, 7.5 is the line despite getting 12. First game, he had 4. Rudy is back, so I'd be a little bit hesitant, but Cat's rebounded very well against Denver in the past. Rebound chances, 53 rebound chances in that last game, only 5 in the first game. So Rudy is back. I'm not saying he's going to get 5 rebound chances. He probably could get his rebound line again, to be honest, but when Cat and Rudy are both on the floor, Cat's the primary defender on Nikola Jokic, which could make it a little bit difficult. So yeah, rebounds I'll probably pass on, but the points make a lot of sense to me. Who else have we got here? We've got Reid off the bench. Let's see how sharp his lines are. He's had 2 strong games. His points line's at 10.5, so he's covered this in both games, 16 and 14 points. He only played 23 minutes in that first game, and with Rudy back, that's where I would expect him to be. But in 23 points, he's shown that he can get it done before. 11 and 14 shot attempts, so the volume is there for Naz Reid. Shoots a lot of 3-pointers, so I wonder what 2 threes are looking like for him. 10.5 plus money though. 3-pointers made plus money for him to make 2. So he's hit this 3-point line in 56% games on the year, and his points line is hitting 57% of games. Maybe if we muck around with the home filter and see. At home, he's covered this line at 62%. 3-point prop at home, he's covered this at 57%. So the points have a slightly better hit rate. Looking at seasonal data, he's covered both of these lines in both games. And at least the points gives you room for error, right? Averaging 15 so far in this series, you need 11. So he can technically make 2 less shots in this game that he has been making and still cover. Doesn't get to the free throw line at all. So you're really just looking at field goals made. You need at least 4 or 5 from Nas because he's going to make a 3-pointer. So you need 5. You need 5 buckets from Nas Reed. And if he's attempting 11 shots, so let's say if he gets a shots at least, we need at least 50%. So the line feels somewhat sharp, but given that Denver don't necessarily have the size to slow this man down, the points prop could be a play as well. Looking at his rebounds, 3.5 boards, 4 of his last 10. He's covered in both games against Denver, though. He's actually covered in 5 straight games against the Denver Nuggets, which is pretty interesting. Rebound chances, he needs 4 boards. Is that it? 7 rebound chances in game 1 and then 5 in game 2. So what we can do for Nas Reed is probably similar to what we did with Dan Gafford and take his points plus rebounds. This line has moved up a little bit, but it might still be worth taking. Because Dan Gafford, I didn't know, do I like the points or the rebounds line more? Because he also had been covering both in his previous matchups against OKC. Took both and we got over with Nas Reed. The points one looks good, but the rebound one looks good too. So he will get less minutes than he did in the last game. That first game where he had 20 points and rebounds, he was excellent. So even if we get a good game out of Nas Reed, I think he can cover the 14.5 points plus rebounds. All right, who else we got from these Timberwolves? Jaden McDaniels, we don't want to dance with. Mike Conley. He's someone who could be due for a bounce back, I say. Points, 10.5 for Mike Conley. 7 out of his last 10. 8 of his last 11 against Denver. So his minutes, they don't seem to change. Field goal attempts, they were down. Only had 5 in that last game. The problem is the Minnesota Timberwolves blew the lights out of the Denver Nuggets. So it's not like the Timberwolves need to change anything. He'll take what he's given. Didn't make any threes. So history tells us that he should bounce back. But based on the current state of this series and how the games are being played, he probably doesn't have to. He's not their first, second, third option. So Mike Conley to get 10.5. I'm a little bit hesitant. His assist line at 6.5, though, to go over plus money. 10 in the first game, 6 in the second game, only 9 potential assists in both of those games. So, yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant on Mike. His rebound prop's been good, though. 2.5 rebounds. There you go. He's cashed this in 7 straight games against the Denver Nuggets. He only had 4 rebound chances, but still got 3 in that last one. But he had a lot of players to get those loose rebounds. And he's also covered this in 9 straight. So this is one that I've been very aware of. The line hasn't moved too much. He's been covering it. Last time I bet Mike Conley, he covered his rebound line, but not his points line, and that's what kicked my ass. So 2.5 rebounds for Mike Conley, 90% hit rate over his last 10, and with an average of 6.8 rebound chances. Hell yeah, I reckon I can dance with that. And that is the data. The data is telling me to take that bet, but it's speaking to my heart, my soul, because my body agrees. Mike Conley rebounds could be the wave here, boys and girls. All right, let's look at these Denver Nuggets. We won't look at any of them because they're ass, but let's start with Aaron Gordon because my gut tells me to look at an under for him. Played very well in that last game. I want to see how often he can string these types of games together. God, his points line's only at 12.5. Okay, 12.5, 5 of his last 10. Did score 20 in that last one. The line has barely moved, though. So the sports books are expecting some. Then I think they know it was an outlier. So look at his games against Minnesota. He's covered in 8 of his last 14. When he does hit it, he just hits it. When he misses it, he usually just misses it. So the line is still pretty sharp here for Aaron Gordon. I'm not playing with that. Rebound line at 5.5. He's gone under in both games this series, 3 and 4 rebounds. Rebound chances, where are they at? 5 and 8. So his rebound chances are low. I guess Aaron Gordon being their best defender, he's going to pick up Cat. He's going to pick up Anthony Edwards. So there's no real rebound chances happening here for Aaron Gordon. So the under 5.5 at plus money could be appealing for me. Who would have ever thought that I bet Aaron Gordon under rebounds? But Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me because Cat's still going to be a problem. Anthony Edwards is still going to be a problem. And Aaron Gordon is still going to have to be the one to defend them, right? So a lot of the times when you're betting on trends in the playoffs, it's hard because things change. I don't see those things changing. Cat's going to be a beast. Ant's going to pick him up. Contavious Caldwell-Pope has an injury. Aaron Gordon's going to be busy as hell on defense. So these rebounds may not come as easy. So the rebound chances, hopefully they stay below 8. So we can cash this bet for AG. Quick look at his assist prop, 4.5 at plus money, 6 in the first game, 2 in the last, only 3 rebound chances. I knew that first game was bullshit, 6 assists, my ass. I didn't think you could back that up on those rebound chances. So that was a good lean that I had. Who else we got here? Let's get to Nikola Jokic, the MVP. 3 MVPs for Nikola Jokic, which I think is fair. I just think they should give these awards out a bit sooner because this man's getting in the playoffs and hasn't accepted an MVP trophy. It's not right. Now, his points line, 28.5. 32 in game 1, only 16 in game 2. 4 of his last 10. Against Minnesota, has had some success. Prior to that last game, 4 straight games covering his points line. In that last game, he only shot the ball 13 times, made 5 buckets. I think the volume has to go up here. I think Nikola Jokic has to score more points because you can't rely on these other fucking idiots. Jamal Murray's ass. Porter Jr. could see an improvement in it, but I think the over for his points, Nikola Jokic, that could be on the table. He definitely scores more than 16, that's for sure, but how much, right? Now, his rebound line, 12.5. 8 rebounds in game 1, 16 in the second game. He had 27 rebound chances. Rudy is back, though, which does make his life a little bit more difficult to get bored, so I don't want to bet his rebounds. Assists, 8.5. He had 8 assists in the last game, 9 assists in the first game, 15 potential assists in that last one, though. So he was clearly trying to get others involved, but they just couldn't make buckets. So Nikola Jokic assists, I think the line's just about right. I couldn't tell you how that one goes. Let's get on to the heat pack throwing machine, Jamal Murray. So Jamal Murray, that calf still causing him problems. His line's at 20.5. 6 of his last 10. Under in both games against Minnesota. 17 and then 8 points. There's something inside of me that tells me he has to bounce back because you don't get much worse than 3 from 18, right? Must-win game. He's got to be better. I just don't know if he can do it. They're throwing big, long bodies at him. He'll definitely be trying, that's for sure. I'm not man enough to bet the under on Jamal Murray's points, though. I'll say that. Let's look at his assists. 5.5, so he's gone under in both of those. Assist chances are very low as well for Jamal Murray. So I think the under on his assists for plus money could be away. 8 and 6 potential assists, and you need to get 6 potential assists in order to cash this bet. What needs to change in order for him to cash his assist prop? Well, not only does he have to create more, get more passes off, but those players also need to make shots. Like, there's too many things that need to happen for him to cash this over. Now, there is a world where Denver comes out and wins this, right? And the Nuggets play a lot better. We saw it in game 2 just recently. We saw the Cavs beat Boston. We saw Dallas beat OKC, both as underdogs. And yeah, shit that you didn't think was going to happen happened, right? But yeah, Jamal Murray to get these assists, I just don't see how he could make it happen. This Minnesota team's a pack of dogs, whereas Boston were due a letdown spot. OKC and Dallas, they're not too different in terms of talent. Denver and Minnesota, yeah, you could argue that Minnesota probably a little bit more talented. They're deeper, they're hungrier, they're more athletic. Might be lacking in the skills department, but yeah, they just got that dog, and Jamal Murray can't seem to overcome that. Let's look at his rebounds line, though. 3.5 boards for Jamal Murray. He had 13 rebounds in that last game. 1 rebound in the first game. He had 18 rebound chances. He even had 2 offensive rebounds. And I think that's just him competing, right? He's competing. The numbers don't look great against Minnesota. They're not too bad, though. Shit. 8 of his last 12 games, he's covered this rebound line. But look, the odds are only at minus 142 in this, so not great. So if you're looking at fantasy apps, yeah, take Jamal Murray over 3.5 rebounds as a straight bet. Not a good one to have in there. So I'll pass on that one. Where's MPJ? Michael Porter Jr. So he'd been playing quite well in this playoffs until that very last game. His points line, he'd covered in 7 of his last 10. 20 points in game 1, 9 points in game 2. What happened? Still played 40 minutes. I think I didn't take his points prop in that last game because I said the volume concerns me, right? Only 13 shots to score 20. He only took 12 shots, but that percentage dropped down to 33%, which I thought could happen because he shot 4 from 7 in that first game. So the volume is exactly the same. 7 3-pointers, but he only made 1. Free throws, he didn't get to the free throw line. So, yeah, I think Michael Porter Jr. does bounce back, but we need to get more volume. He can't be taking 12 to 13 shots and for us to confidently back this points line. So I'm going to have to pass on that. Rebounds, lines at 6.5. He's gone under in both games against Minnesota, 6 and 5. 14 rebound chances in the first game, and then 9 rebound chances in the blowout. So I'd probably get his rebound chances up to about 14. And if he gets 14 rebound chances, yeah, I think the line is just about right for him to get 7. I'd probably lean to the over, to be honest, if he's going to get 14 rebound chances. But I'll do some hood mathematics on Michael Porter Jr. after this. We'll see if I can find an edge for us. But yeah, his points prop, unless we start to see more volume, I'm not too keen on it. No, we're not touching the bench players for Denver. Get the hell out of here. So, all right, let's recap the leans. I'll put these in the pinned comment anyway, but let's talk through it. In that very first game, hold up, copy and pasted all my shit in the wrong way. In that first game, looking at DiVincenzo points over 20.5. I like that. No Jalen Brunson. Actually, Jalen Brunson is playing most likely, but he is somewhat limited. Dante's been great, and if there's a chance Brunson is out or misses some time, Dante can pick up the slack. Josh Hart points. His scoring style suits this Pacers matchup, getting to the rim. Josh Hart assists. His potential assists are higher than Jalen Brunson's right now. So his line is lower. So 5.5 for Josh Hart we can see happening. But then points plus assists, really just combining the two together. Isaiah Hartenstein. I don't like his rebounds over, but I do want to track that as a lean. Miles Turner, 16.5 points. Looking at the over there. So looking to see him bounce back at home. His rebounds under 7.5. It's got a really good hit rate. I'm not going to bet that, but I want to track that for the lean as well because I lean into the under quite heavily there for Miles Turner, but I just can't get there. TJ McConnell, points plus assists. I can definitely bet that. He's been effective in his time. He's getting decent minutes, and he's aggressive as hell when he's out there. Obi topping points and biting the bullet. Obi's been cashing like a mofo, and I can't not take that. So give me some Obi points, and then Ben Shepherd points, 5.5 points. He needs 2 3-pointers. I was close to betting that too. And then looking at the Wolves, we've got Anthony Edwards overs. I think he just has so much upside to what he's doing right now. Could have easily gone over the 27.5 in the last game, but certain things didn't fall his way. So I do like the opportunity there. Karl Anthony Towns, they don't have an answer for him. Too much size, too much skill, and he's playing very well. Naz Reid's been a walking bucket off the bench. When he gets on, Denver's second unit cannot handle him whatsoever. But his points plus rebounds might be the better play because his rebounds look good too. Mike Conley over his rebounds, been cashing consistently as hell. Aaron Gordon, probably the riskiest play, under 5.5 boards. Nikola Jokic expecting a bounce back with his points over 28.5. Jamal Murray under 5.5 assists because the potential assists are not there. And then MPJ rebounds, I'm going to look into that too. So hopefully, oh shit, a lot of leans here. We might finish on 5 to 6 bets at least. And then potentially a BAP or some sort of parlay just to keep you guys excited. We'll have a look at that. But if you made it this far, I appreciate y'all. I'll catch you guys in the next one for sure. Be good. Peace. What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and I'm here to take you through a comprehensive NBA player prop preview for this upcoming 2-game slate. Now, if it's your first time checking out the channel, I let you know, what's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and I'm here today to take you through the most comprehensive NBA player prop preview you are likely to see. If it's your first time checking out the channel, I'll let you know I do this every damn day. But what is that? Up to the channel because your boy's getting busy. Coming to you live from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.